everybody, it's Stacie Duffy here, your Denver Metro real estate resource, and today we're going to talk party wall agreements. And you're like, I don't know what the hell those are. So we're going to talk about it. But essentially, party wall agreements are really common in multi-unit buildings that are relatively small. So I'm not talking condo complexes or something with 15, 20, 50 units in it or anything like that. This is for your duplexes, your triplexes, your quadplexes, or smaller multiplex type building typically. And it's just that. It is an agreement regarding the party wall or shared wall. So I'm talking about this, and I'll shoot another video that I'll link to up above and down below. I'll do a couple videos because one of them is going to be, hey, low HOAs. Maybe you have a party wall agreement instead of an HOA or some combination thereof. And then the other one is going to be more HOA versus party wall. So I'll shoot a separate video on that, kind of explaining the differences between them, maybe some pros, maybe some cons. So, but typically your party wall agreement is essentially, it's going to be a relatively short, like less than 20, I don't know, the one I read last night was actually pretty long at like 17 pages. That's the longest one I've ever seen. Usually I see them much more in the Denver area. I see them much more commonly for 50s, 60s, 70s, duplexes, triplexes, things like that. And they're going to typically be recorded, which the seller should give you a copy if it's recorded, or the title company in your title commitment will have it listed as one of the exceptions, and it will link to that recorded document, okay? Anytime you get a title commitment, as I mentioned up above, I'll link to my title video, what is title insurance, and I don't think I'll link to the title company one. Maybe I'll do that one too. But I'll do a whole nother video on title because honestly, there are so many things in there that are so important that no one ever reads. And a party wall agreement is definitely something if you have, you know, condo or a duplex, triplex, something like that, that you want to make sure you read. Because essentially, and I'll reference it to just duplex, for example. We'll keep it simple for now. So let's say you're buying half of a duplex, okay? You probably have a lot in block legal description. Maybe the yard is split. Maybe it's not split. Maybe it's one big fenced yard. There's no HOA because it's just the two of y'all and it's surrounded by, you know, other single family homes or duplexes or something like that. But in the party wall agreement is typically going to address how things are done regarding that wall that you physically share. Maybe the roof, you know, because it's one roof across the whole building. Maybe it's a yard, maybe it's a fence, maybe it's something like that. And it talks about, hey, can you use the wall? Can you repair the wall? Can you run plumbing and HVAC through the wall? How does it work when the roof needs to be replaced? How does it work when we need to do the siding on the house? Do we, you know, each do our own siding up to that line? Is there maybe an overarching, like, do we have to agree on the color and it has to be the same color on both sides? Do we have to do the roof at the same time, or can you do your half and I'll do my half, or something like that? They're not always that specific though. Like, that's what they ideally should be, right? And just kind of lay it out there of, hey, here's how it's going to work when we need to do X, Y, and Z situation. Okay, so there's no questions. That's not always how things have happened. And, you know, maybe the party wall agreement didn't get recorded, or maybe, you know, two owners worked really, really well together and one of those owners left and the new owner, they had problems or something. A lot of times, unfortunately, they're just going to say, you know, hey, both unit owners agree that any repairs that need to be done can be done in a timely manner. And if the other person doesn't do it, one person can do it and sue the other person to get their money back, or something stupid like that, okay? It's not stupid, but I understand why they did it. But it doesn't make it easy to work with, okay? So be sure to read your party wall agreement. A lot of times, like as I mentioned, in smaller complexes, these are in place of or in lieu of or in addition to a limited function HOA, okay? So, but it's important to know because a lot of people, when they buy a multi-unit building, and this one I'll specifically talk to up above and down below in like HOA versus townhouse in the situation that I'm running into right now with one of my clients. When a lot of, you know, when people buy like half of a duplex, people tend to realize, or it doesn't strike them as odd that they need to take care of the building. Because they're like, oh, it's a house. It's just not the whole house because I can't afford the whole house or don't want the whole house or whatever, right? Or I want to be in this part of town. Usually the people buying half of a duplex, it's because they want a single family home, but they can't quite afford it. And so they'll buy the next closest thing, okay? Or, you know, occasionally owners will own both sides of the building, in which case the party wall agreement doesn't really matter because one person owns it all. And, you know, maybe you live in one side and rent the other, or rent to both or whatever, okay? So with duplexes, I don't run into this as much. Triplexes, quadplexes, and larger buildings is where a lot of owners, I have to, buyers, when we're looking at these things, I have to tell them, like, okay, so for this one, because a lot of times we're looking at different types of places. So for this one, maybe it's a condo declaration and it's technically a condo, even though it looks like a townhouse, but the HOA functions legally as a condo, and that changes some things on the lending side, okay? Maybe it's a lot and block townhouse with an HOA. Maybe it's a, hey, there's no HOA, but there's a party wall agreement. And so it depends on property by property, and I have to call it out of, okay, this one, I know it's a smaller complex, you really like it, it feels more like a neighborhood or single family home or something like that. But keep in mind, because it's smaller, there's no HOA. So the exterior maintenance is on you, including the roof, including the siding, including the paint, including the, window trim, all this stuff, okay? That a lot of people that are coming from apartments and condos going into townhomes or multiplex buildings don't realize that, one, they have to keep up and maintain their home. Because if you've been renting for a long time, you probably haven't had to take care of a lot of things like change your HVAC filter, clean your property, but you're not having to paint the side of your house every 5 to 7 years, or, budget for a roof replacement, 15, 20 years down the road, because you're like, I don't know when the roof's ever been done. So next hailstorm, I might have to shell out $4 or $5 grand out of pocket for a roof deductible. Your insurance, your hazard insurance is more expensive because of mostly roofs, which is a whole different rant video. I don't know if I filmed that. I'll have to do that another time. If I ever do film it, I'll link it up above and down below. So, but a lot of people aren't used to that, and that's a new step in homeownership. And so I have to explain that of, hey, here's some watch outs, okay? So always read your party wall agreement, because it's going to call out those kind of things of who's responsible for what, how often you have to do them, how you work out. But it's pretty much the documented agreement that says, hey, by buying this property, you agree to play nicely in the sandbox with your neighbor when things need to be taken care of. So anyway, hopefully that's just kind of an overarching view. I will say in Denver, we don't run into them terribly often. I think East Coast, older properties, this is probably much, much more common. Just older cities in general, because houses were developed more in that dense housing, close to central town type thing. So older, more populated cities, historically, I think are going to run into this a lot more. But at least for the Denver metro area, that's been my experience so far. And then I'll talk about some other ones in the other videos that I've mentioned. So anyway, if you have questions or if there's anything I can do to help, please feel free to reach out. If you're looking to buy or sell here in the Denver metro area, hit me up. My contact information's down below. If you need a me in another area, or somebody who understands these things and somebody who understands title and can advise you of these things, because your agent should be doing that. Maybe you had a bad experience in the past and you want a different agent, or you want to interview multiple agents. As I always say, you should be interviewing agents. Hire someone that's a good fit for you, okay? Feel free to reach out. I have a link down below that you can put your information in, and that will help me make a quicker match much faster for someone that can help you with what you're looking for. If this was helpful and you're like, thank you, that's what I needed to know, and I couldn't find it anywhere, or nobody talks about it, or why do I care about it, hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. That'll help other people find it as well. So anyway, thanks so much for the time, and have a great day.